Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. And just so you know, I am the Motor City Madmouth, but if you look at my hat, we have a Canadian hat that I ended up getting from Windsor, Canada. If you wonder why I have a Canadian hat, listen to the broadcast and you'll know exactly why I have it. So with that said, I have two guys working together for the first time. We'll begin with our holdover, Rick Curti. Rick, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you, Scott. Glad to be back.
And back on his second show is Eric Katz. Welcome back, Eric.
Good to be here.
All right. Well, here's the thing, folks. We're still in the midst of a baseball lockout, but we're talking baseball anyways. And tonight's topic is going to be MLB gets it right. No sister cities. What do I mean by that? Over the next several minutes, you'll understand exactly where I'm going. In the last few weeks, Major League Baseball rejected the Tampa Bay Rays idea to have a split season up in Montreal and Tampa. And the reason why they did it, it made no sense. I'm going to mention a couple of things and I'm going to go to my esteemed panel of two. Okay. And this is a situation where something has to give. First of all, when you're dealing with the exchange rate between the United States and Canada, that's a problem in itself. Okay. Take it from a guy that used to know. Living in Detroit, went across the Windsor border, no problem, depending what the value of the dollar is. But here's another thing that makes that idea impossible. How do you expect a player to have two residences for each person when it's tough enough to maintain one? Okay, and hampers the ability to sign free agents. You'll have two sets of taxes for your income tax return. I don't have an accountant on the show, but you have the Canadian income tax system, and then you have the United States income tax system. Good luck finding a CPA with that one. Two stadiums would be a waste of money. Talking about building one up in Montreal and need another one in Tampa. You're not selling that to either of them. No chance. Now, here's what we have really going for us, guys. That Tropicana's lease ends in 2027. So that goes back to what I mentioned before. Something has to give. So let's just go ahead and set the precedent of why two cities wouldn't work. And we'll even date it to the pandemic where the Toronto Blue Jays didn't have a real home either. And they ended up having to play in Dunedin for a little while, but then they had Buffalo until they wound up back in Canada. How did that work for any players that played on the Toronto Blue Jays? Another story. So with that said, Rick, give us your interpretation of the sister cities. And then after the 2027 season, I know that a lot of Montreal Expos are going to like what we have to say, because at that point or another, if something has to give, bring back the Montreal Expos and the Tampa Bay Rays become the Montreal Expos. I have a strong feeling with that. Rick Curti, the ball is yours.
Well, I heard about this idea. I was kind of confused because it's like, how can it be a sister city when they're in two different countries? It's not like it's in South Carolina, one's in North Carolina. That's a sister city state thing going on. And that's not happening here. And like you said before, with the taxes, with the British government, United States government, especially with the height of COVID, going from one country to another, blah, blah, blah. All this is that the Tampa Bay Rays are just applying pressure to Florida. They're saying, build us a stadium or we are out of here. And that's why they've been flirting with this sister city thing for quite a while. And, they just need to get the ball rolling. This has been going on forever. It's been dragging on forever, just like it's been dragging on in Oakland forever. And they just need to get this situated, put a stadium in Tampa Bay, forget about St. Petersburg. No one's going to the games. The Rays are a great team. They just won 100 games. For them to not have any fan support is really an embarrassment to them because they're a great team. It's not like they're a terrible team. So this whole thing is just pretty much just to apply pressure to Florida to build them a new stadium. And I don't see it happening, but like you said, Scott, in 2027, when their lease expires and they got nothing going, it's going to be bye-bye Tampa Bay Rays and hello Montreal Expos.
Okay, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, if Montreal was serious about having a baseball team, they would have built the stadium. I mean, they can go ahead and hype up the Expos. Oh, we want the Expos. Oh, bring back the Expos, all they want. But no one is going to come to that concrete dump in the middle of downtown Montreal and play. That thing's been there since they hosted the Olympics, which I believe it was. But until they get serious about having a stadium, I don't want to hear about bring back the Expos, because first of all, they need the stadium in order to attract the people. We all know that teams are more than likely going to try and attract teams with building a stadium. Take teams that have moved there in the past. They'll have the stadium and they do all that. Now, I want the Expos back just as much as anybody else, but until they get rid of that concrete dump and replace it with a state-of-the-art stadium like we've seen what we've seen from Target Field and among other stadiums, it's not going to happen. I'm having a hard time believing that it'll happen. I think MLB put the quash on it because Montreal isn't serious about it.
Yeah, Olympic Stadium, there's no way they would even move them temporarily. Forget that. We all know about the debacle. Now, in all fairness to the Montreal fans, they had a great team in '94 when the MLB had a labor situation that wrecked the franchise. I get that. There's a great history with the Montreal Expos, and I know a lot of people would certainly like to see it. But
you forgot about Blue Monday. They had a great team that year too. Unfortunately, Rick Monday hit the home run.
Right. No, I didn't forget about it. I have intelligent guys like you on here to make sure that we have all the facts coming from lots of different directions. Mm-hmm. I don't bring stupid people on my broadcast, and I can say a lot of things on my shows, but I don't believe in stupido, as they might say in Spanish. And I don't know a whole lot of Spanish. I don't know a whole lot about French.
You were talking about the '94 team, which obviously I will give you. They were probably the best team in baseball that year, and they might have won the world. They might have been able to. They probably had a chance to win the World Series, but you forget though that the fans, they loved them, and I will get that. But the fact of the matter is, until they get rid of that concrete dump, which I don't even know why it's even still there at this point. I don't know who in the right mind would even host a concert there to begin with, or some sort of minor league outdoor event like monster trucks or something. I want Montreal back, but man, Montreal, as they say in Jerry Maguire, show them the money.
Yeah.
No question about it. I don't care what city, whether it's Tampa or Montreal, the appropriate size stadium that you'd be building would be between 27 and 35,000 with a fair amount of luxury suites. I mean, that's nowadays, I think what they're building them for anyways, these things are ranging between 750 million to about $1 million or billion, so it depends on what they're going to do. But yeah, there's no way that Major League Baseball would even dare to let Montreal have a city unless they had a stadium that was ready to go. And here's the thing, you have 4 years to figure it out. Okay. Yeah. As much as I'd like to say, okay, let's have a Field of Dreams reference. If you build it, they will come. Well, we know that's obvious. Okay. But Montreal has to build it in order to get MLB to consider letting them come. And that's really where the whole idea is. I mean, because I can tell you right now, I don't see the Rays ever moving to Orlando. There's no way. And I think the only way that the Rays are sustainable in the Tampa area, being a former University of South Florida, while being a University of South Florida Bull alumnus, is they have to build it in Tampa. I know they've talked about Ybor City. I always felt that they should have put one adjacent to Raymond James, or at that time when they had Tampa Stadium right next to it, where Al Lopez Field stood, because off of Dale Mabry and the freeway is so easy to get to. But St. Petersburg built their stadium first. Tampa didn't want to spend any money to have two cities and two stadiums with a Major League Baseball, which would have been a colossal waste of money. They said, all right, St. Petersburg, you can have it. There's no way in any way, shape, or form baseball will ever survive in St. Petersburg, even if they build it to a more lucrative area, because after all a lot of your sports successes are on the Tampa side of the bridge.
Well, Tampa at least has something of note. They at least have Dick Vitale as a fan.
Well,
what's keeping Tampa Bay going is that they got a great TV deal. If it wasn't for that great TV deal, they would have been bankrupt a long time ago, because they've had the worst attendance for the last 5 or 6 years. And we're talking about dumpy stadiums. Tropicana Field is the most awful, worst stadium in Major League Baseball, especially with that atrocious catwalk. And it's an ugly dump of a stadium, and they need to build a new state-of-the-art one. And please, no more St. Petersburg. Put it in Tampa Bay, like Scott said. And I mean, you got the Lightning there that went back-to-back Stanley Cups. You just had, probably the greatest quarterback of all time play for Tampa Bay. Use those things, attract people there, and say, we're going to move the Rays where they need to be at. Not the St. Petersburg Rays, but the Tampa Bay Rays, if that's where they need to be at. And I've heard that there's another proposal going on. So, and like I said, it's all about when their lease expires. But for this whole Tampa Bay Montreal thing, it's just been it's just apply pressure on Florida. That's all.
And folks, before you go on, Eric, I just want to let everybody know that where you can hear our broadcasts, you can hear them on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as a YouTube channel or www.selfportrait.com. Sorry to interrupt you, Eric. Just want to make sure that people later.
I just think Florida's been a great spring training place for a long time. They've just never have developed their fan bases ever. Like they've had their, obviously the Yankees were in Fort Lauderdale, and obviously they're in Tampa now. But they just, they've been trying for major league teams. They say they're going to have major league teams. They bring them, but the fans don't come.
Yeah, but here's where I disagree with you, Eric. Okay, and I really do disagree with you. I believe that if these stadiums are in the right area, and I really do believe that in my mind, okay, the Marlins are located in downtown Miami by the Miami International Airport, away from Dade, Broward. They're away from Broward County and Palm Beach County. So it's a little bit of a drive to get down there. Then you add tolls and parking. It's a very tough situation. And the Marlins have built their stadium right near where Joe Robbie, Hard Rock Stadium, whatever you want to call it these days, they're fine. Then at least you have access to the turnpike and you're more accessible to the Tri-County area. Unfortunately, the best deal the Marlins did get was when they tore down the Orange Bowl and they built the stadium there. And I know, I live it. Okay, I know exactly. It doesn't help that they haven't been competitive, but forget that. That site supported the Dolphins for many years when they were winning, and they put 70,000 people strong at the Orange Bowl all day long. But again, you're talking about location. And in Miami, the Marlins are hampered by their location. Same holds true with Tampa, okay? Yeah, again, let me go back to Miami. That's a beautiful stadium. One of the nicest stadiums I've ever been to. It really is a first-class facility. So again, I feel that the Marlins built it in the wrong place. They took what they could get. Back to St. Petersburg. Been in that stadium a few times as well. Location. The Rays certainly are a well-run organization, whether it's Joe Madden, whether it's Kevin Cash, wouldn't make any difference. Those guys have done an outstanding job utilizing a low-budget format, and they're winning every year. There is no excuse, like you said, Rick, that they should even be able to not put half or not three-quarters on a majority of the games. There's no way. But there's only one thing that's stopping it. The Howard Franklin Bridge on 275 from Tampa to St. Petersburg is brutal. If you've ever driven it during rush hour, you probably think that, oh my goodness, you probably pull your hair out getting from one end to the other. So, again, location of both Tropicana Field, okay, as well as Marlins Park, Lone Depot Park are issues with those teams. Of course, again, the Rays are more competitive, but don't kid yourself. The Marlins, in their franchise history, they have 2 World Series titles to show for it, albeit despite the lack of postseason appearances, but they had those successes when they were located over by, as I call it, Joe Robbie Stadium. So let's have a few hypothetical situations, okay? Let's just say that the Rays ultimately move to Montreal. I know you Expo fans are going to get excited, okay? Where do you put them? Folks, you don't put them in the National League, for God's sakes. No way. You put them in the American League. Why? Let's just go back to the NHL, okay, the original 6. I'm an original 6 guy. I'm a hockey guy. We'll take the Toronto Blue Jays and Montreal Expos and recreate the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. Boy, don't tell me that those cities won't salivate facing each other many, many times in the same division. And don't tell me they're not going to pack the stands, because they definitely will. So let's just hypothetical, Rick, Curti, and the Expos get their team back. Can you imagine that scenario?
That would be exciting. That's what Major League Baseball wants. They want another team in Canada. That's why Vancouver's on this list for in expansion cities. And so they do want another team in Canada. They want to have a rivalry with Toronto. They want to expand, they don't want to just be like a state, like it's called the World Series, but it's really a state series. They really wanted to make it an actual World Series and put another team in Canada. So just the thought of having Toronto Blue Jays and the Montreal Expos / Rays, or whatever you want to call them, face each other would be fun for baseball. It'd be fun internationally. It'd be fun for Canada. It'll grow their brand globally more, and it'll be exciting. That's one of the reasons why they had the Yankees playing London a couple of years ago, and now they're looking at doing that again. Like the NFL does with London. They want to now. They're thinking about having games in Germany. I think Belgium's reached out to them, and I like that idea. I think it's kind of fun. So to have like other countries, compete against each other it'd be really, really fun.
Well, let me take it a step further, and a lot of people may not even remember this, but in the National Hockey League, when CBS carried it, now we're really going back to the 70s, okay? And I'm probably the only one here of this group that really remembers it. I remember when the Montreal Canadiens took on the Chicago Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup Finals, and you had Dan Kelly and Jim Gordon as the announcers, and you had a really good series between the Canadiens and the Blackhawks. And again, anytime you have the United States and Canada facing off in a final round, you definitely have all of North America involved. So yeah, I mean, now we're really talking some history. Oh, I would love to see the Montreal Expos back. In fact, I'll even take it a step further. When the Colorado Rockies one time played in the National Hockey League, and I'm talking about back then, and they lost that team, they ended up bringing the NHL back to Colorado Avalanche when the Quebec Nordiques relocated. How did that work out? So I'm in favor of cities getting second chances. I really am. Now, just like if you flip it around the other way, Winnipeg got a second chance when the Atlanta Thrashers moved over there, and they made the most of it with an adequate facility. So second chance is okay when you have a market here that would warrant it, but I don't want to get too far off track here. The main thing is MLB got it right by killing that sister city plan. Go ahead, Eric.
It wasn't going to work from the get-go because they don't have the stadium.
Right. That's true. So in fact, I'll even take it a step further. I think if Canada had their way, they would love to have an NBA team because the stadium is there already in place. And then the Canadian NBA team would be there along with the
Raptors.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about if Montreal had a NBA team and you have one sharing it with the Canadians. I've heard that before, that it would make more sense for Montreal to have an NBA team than it would MLB, because you've already got, I believe, the Molson Center already in place. And then the NBA team shares a facility with the NHL team, and bingo, you got a second sports town. And I think Montreal would probably support an NBA team as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, they might, but look what happened with Vancouver. They didn't support Vancouver, and they went to Memphis. So, but a team in Montreal, it might work, but I just think that they really do want to see their Expos back. It's just they don't have a stadium, because Olympic Stadium is, I mean, it was a dump of a stadium when I watched the Dodgers go there in the 90s, and like it was so quiet, and it was like watching golf.
Yeah,
and, problem is with the problem is though, they have, Montreal always had the fans. Right. If you watch the documentary about MLB Network, they were always there. The problem was they never had the stadium. It didn't help that they had an owner, a sleazebag named Jeffrey Luria.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the idea to go to Western Canada for the NBA was good. I don't think they had good ownership, and I don't think the rivalry would have been as good with Seattle versus Vancouver as you would with Toronto, Montreal. So there are a lot of things that could work against you in a scenario like that. But really, folks, I would love to see the Montreal Expos back. I really would. It's a shame that they ended up going away in the first place and wound up with the Washington Nationals. But again, it gets back to what Eric's been saying, a concrete dump, okay? The Olympic Stadium was great in the day when they built it for the Olympics, but as time goes on, stadiums get old, and then the concrete, the foundation structure goes away, and you had a good situation again. So I'm all in favor of the Expos coming back. But the reality is this, okay, you've only got 4 years to figure it out. You only do. And really, you don't even have that. You have about 2 years, okay? Because the average stadium, you need at least 2 years to build them with all the amenities that are in place. And of course, the zoning and to make sure a lot of those things. So really, Tampa has to figure it out and they need to do it relatively quickly. And we've pointed out options that would be feasible and not. Orlando, no. Tampa, yes. St. Petersburg, no. Montreal's hanging over their head. But will the province of Quebec step up to the plate and build the Expos Stadium to return? I don't care about these exhibition games bringing in 40, 50,000. That don't mean nothing, okay? Anybody can go there a couple of games a year just to show their support. And in the end,
It's like the circus.
Well, it is. Yeah, it was a shame what happened to them in the first place. So that they lost it. But, you know, things happen. They have another chance. Build the stadium, Montreal, and we'll have this conversation 2 years from now because I got news for you. You know, Rob Manfred right now, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, is looking at his situation in Oakland. Oakland, I think, is closer to more of a resolution that either, you know, they're down to the final hour to get a stadium built out in Oakland by the waterfront, but the wheels are already in motion in Vegas to get that situation going.
Yeah, they're moving to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I
We've
think so
seen.
too.
Oh, Vegas would be terrific. We've seen the Vegas Knights just be terrific there. We've seen the Raiders have been an absolute hit there, and plus obviously sports gambling, which you know baseball is in on that. Which I doubt anybody ever saw baseball getting involved with gambling of any kind.
No,
but we've seen like what it could do for that market. So you know, I'm thinking Oakland. You know, the clock's ticking. If you're not going to get it done, well, you're about to lose yourself 3 teams.
Yeah.
Well, we go back to the sister city idea though, and I know we mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. Okay, think about a player. They don't want to have 2 residences, one in Tampa and another one out in Canada. That's not even feasible to do. How do you attract free agents by what are they going to do? Stay in hotels for part of the year and then go to hotels? How do you attract free agents by even adding layers of travel, let alone the fact that you do need a passport to get to the stadiums? We saw the National Hockey League during the 2020 pandemic had a Canadian division, and then you had the American divisions there. So, I mean, think about it. You know, that would hamper their ability to get free agents with the sister city concept. And again, we're talking about the problems with the income taxes, both in Canada as well as the United States, let alone the exchange rate. So, you know, there are a lot more complications to the city's sister city idea than most people even realize, and you have to layer it in a lot of different ways. But yeah,
it's like when they bring these kids over from Central America and in the Caribbean to come play ball, and they sign them, and also as well as you know when they go over to every once in a while you get a star in Japan and you bring them over. There's just so much logistics, except you know that's only for a one-time thing. Just imagine like what it would be, you know, having to do this every single year. You know, obviously Japan and the Caribbean, you know, those guys only pop up every now and then.
right.
But it's not, which, you know, it's huge when it happens, but there's just so much logistics especially with Canada, because the players you bring in, a lot of them aren't Canadian.
That's true. But again,
Yeah.
when you put the 2 cities and compare and contrast them, Tampa, you had a great television market. You really do. You just have a bad stadium. I know the Tampa Bay area is a great sports town because they tell me I live there. Okay. I know full well the Tampa Bay Lightning sell out the place. There's a waiting list with the Buccaneers, and there's no reason to think the Rays wouldn't have a great crowds day in and day out. Build a stadium in the right place, whether it's Ybor City or right near where the Buccaneers play off of Dale Mabry. They'll be all right. But you got Montreal hanging over their shoulder. But again, the only way you're getting the Expos back is build that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to get another city involved, you know. It's like just say, you know, forget about Montreal, you know, like maybe like an Oklahoma City would get involved, or an Indianapolis would get involved, or New Orleans would get involved. I think if it was a somewhere in the United States, then I think that it would apply pressure more to the Rays. But I think now that they keep flirting with Montreal, I think like they're thinking the same way we're thinking, Scott. Oh, it's Canada. Like there's no way it's going to work out. So that's why they need to get something done soon. They need to put the team in Tampa Bay, and I love to see the Expos back. I really would. They're great fans, and Jeffrey Loria, ruined that franchise and then moved to Washington. So I hope I love to see the Rays, but put the team in Tampa Bay because Tampa's a great team. They win 100 wins a year, and they were in the World Series, and
twice.
They're probably the best run organization in all of baseball. They
Well,
know exactly what they're doing, and they do it small ball. They don't get free. It's all small ball. So it would work. It's just
Their minor
get
league
another
system.
city to put pressure on.
Well,
And also-
I'll reiterate my point one time, and then we'll close things in a moment with your final thoughts as well. Okay. Montreal can and will support Major League Baseball with the right facility, especially if it's a stadium between 27 and 35,000 easily with a great product. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're great fans. I know they are. And the Montreal Canadiens are rabid over there. You need good ownership. You need a great facility, first class. And in Montreal, you're delusional if you think you're going to get it with Olympic Stadium as a temporary. Will never happen. MLB won't either. And I'll say what I said before. The Tampa Bay Rays, to me, are better served in the Tampa area. But the sister city idea, I am so glad that MLB got it right and shot it down. Okay, no sister cities, and that's where I'm at. So some closing thoughts on this, Rick.
No, we'll just see what happens in 2027. That's just we could talk about this all day, but it's not going to get really pressured till it's like 2026. When their lease is getting ready to expire in 2027, and that's when it's really going to get interesting. And then we'll soon find out if they're either going to be the Tampa Bay Rays or the Montreal Rays or Montreal Expos. That's where it's going to get interesting. And it's all up in the air. But they definitely, Florida needs to get their act together, build a stadium in Tampa Bay, and it would do great there, especially if it's next to where the Buccaneers play and where the Lightning play, and then they're getting the Tampa Bay Bandits back. So, I mean, Tampa Bay really is a great sports town, and they would absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, support the Tampa Bay Rays.
All right, what are your thoughts, Eric? Closing thoughts about the sister city concept?
I think, in order for it to happen, Montreal, build your stadium. You got your fan base. You got your fans who are just clamoring to get the Expos back. You got to build the stadium first, and then the team will come. I know the Expos are definitely welcome back. I know baseball wants another team in Canada to grow the game more. I know MLB has talked about growing the game more, but it's not going to happen if you keep on thinking that little concrete dump in the middle of downtown Montreal is even going to work temporarily. We've seen things fall on the field. It's really gotten that bad.
So there you have it, folks. If you don't remember anything about this broadcast, remember from the words of Eric Katz, concrete dump. And that's good enough for me, because Eric Katz definitely defined what he really thinks of Olympic Stadium as a concrete dump. Pretty hard to argue with him because they're in the team there and you need to get one. So with that said, now that we've had our closing thoughts, I just want to reiterate that you can find all of the shows here on the WSFT network on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. By all means, go ahead and subscribe, as well as on the website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter @Tribune South. With that said, I got that out first. Eric Katz, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Just follow me on Twitter at sports teams nudes. I'm on the Facebook, and yeah, you can find all my stuff there and what I'm thinking.
Rick, go ahead.
You can find me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. I'm also on there on Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats. I'm on the Instagram at Charlotte Bats. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti.
So get used to Eric and Rick on the 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. They're my primary co-hosts. They're going to be here all the time when we do it, providing that they're available. We'll certainly bring in other people as well, but I know it's good to have some chemistry amongst the three of us. So a lot of you folks out there, we encourage you to go ahead and listen to this broadcast. They're definitely designed to stimulate your thinking on a subject where at least common sense prevailed. And I'll reiterate the episode as MLB gets it right. No sister cities. We'll see where we go. So meanwhile, On behalf of Rick Curti and Eric Katz, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we will catch you the next time. God bless everybody. Be safe, and please take COVID-19 serious. It hasn't gone away. And until the next time, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.